jump into discussion, we are privileged and honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Sardar Yasir Khan, who is former President, Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and will be joined by other panelists later in the show. So let's begin the discussion. Mr. Khan, how effective and fruitful do you think these measures by Senator Ishaq Dar are going to be, especially when it comes to providing immediate relief to the common people?
Firstly, thank you for having me. The business community has always had a different take on this. We've seen things very differently to the way they have, because we feel they've been disconnected from Pakistan for a very long time. And we've been here and we have a grip on the pulse of the economy. When we're talking about the central bank's interventions, let's look at a global macro perspective. And let's look at Japanese market, for example.
But let's move to that part later on the show, because the measures which are taken by Senator Ishaq Dar for providing immediate relief to the common man, how effective?
It's not sustainable, because at the moment I feel that the 8, 9, 10 rupees fluctuation is primarily based on speculation. There's nothing tangible to back that up. Fuel subsidies are again not sustainable. We've seen that being done in the previous government, and that couldn't be carried forward. IMF is going to kick in and say, you know what, you can't give fuel subsidies. Interest rate is already at 17%, which is going to contract your economy further, because people like us are no longer going to be able to acquire loans, obtain loans for any future development of any sort of projects. We're going to say, you know what, it's too expensive to borrow, might as well keep the funds at the bank, and the banks are offering us interest of about 15.5%. So therefore, I don't believe that this policy is sustainable, and that this is a 1-month arrangement. With regards to meeting the Qatari government, with regards to meeting the Middle East, again, this is something which our allies were going to do anyway. We knew that they were going to bail Pakistan out, because a stable Pakistan means a stable region. Central Asia is connecting to Pakistan. China has a huge stake in Pakistan, and obviously stability in Afghanistan will only happen if Pakistan is stable. Therefore, nobody can afford Pakistan
There's been a little bit of criticism within the ranks of the government. Also, the former Finance Minister, Miftah Ismail, also criticizing this move. But at the same time, responding to this observation made by former Finance Minister, Senator Ishaq Dar said that he'd been dealing with the IMF from last 25 years, and it is between him and the IMF. And he's the only one who has completed one complete program with IMF, so he is pretty confident that measures that he's taking are going to be fruitful.
And I appreciate you mentioning that. So these 25 years has led us to a vicious circle, and we're doing exactly what we did in the past, and we're making the same mistakes all over again, and we're not learning from those mistakes. IMF is not Pakistan's solution. Our solution should have been to focus on exports. I've always said this, that we need to diversify our exports and find import substitution by focusing on indigenous manufacturing in Pakistan, and that's just not happened. We need to set up plant and machinery. So CPEC came very late down the line. We've got currently about 70 industrial states, out of which about 22 are special economic zones. But how many companies do we have doing investments in Pakistan? And the current government goes out to the world on national TV, globally seen, and you're saying all hell is going to break loose in Pakistan. Imagine the negative impact that's going to have on overseas Pakistanis and on any FDI which is going to come in Pakistan, because you're painting a very grieved picture of Pakistan.
That is actually the situation on the ground, the kind of the scale and the proportion of the damage and the destruction the recent floods because of the climatic changes have caused. So that is exactly what we have to show to the world, because
Absolutely,
if we are going,
but
if we want a debt restructuring or debt reprofiling, so a certain call like that has to be made. Otherwise, how Pakistan is going to deal with the challenges?
With what you acquired from the allied countries, you've taken about 12, 15, 16 billion. You've taken 10 billion from China. You've taken 3.5 from Saudi Arabia, another 3 from Qatar, another 2.5 from UAE. And you've said that we're now stable in some way. But collectively, within the next 2 years, you've got to pay back 34 billion in terms of debt repayments. Where is that 34 billion going to come from? So let's see the other side of the story, where a businessman is going to tell you. So the Ministry of Commerce has now just recently imposed 49% duties on items which were considered as luxury goods, but they're not really. There's only a certain category of luxury goods. All the other items which are construction related, development related, manufacturing related, raw materials are there, and they're all under, if you look at the HS codes, all of these items are now being charged 49% duties. If you speak to them, they're going to say, oh, this is only for a short term, 4 to 5 months, but it's not guaranteed. It could go longer, it could go on to a year, it could go on to 2 years. So imagine the cost that's going to have on the average person in Pakistan, because as a developer, or as a builder, or as a manufacturer, I'm going to incur that cost on my imports. I'm then going to embed that into my sale price. So locally, inflation is going to go even higher, so it's going to go higher than 40%, and my exports are going to become more expensive. Therefore, I will no longer be competitive in the world. So in every framework, for us to be able to satisfy IMF, and for us to be able to satisfy our lenders, is going to pass the cost onto the end user, and that's for us not viable as Pakistanis.
Right. Right, your point is well taken. So let's bring in another panelist. So, Mr. Khan, when a finance minister says that this particular depreciation of rupee is artificial and it's basically because of speculators and strict action would be taken. So whatever the measure he has taken right now, and that is manifested in form of appreciation of rupee's value against the greenback, so that very much justifies that the speculators are involved, and he said that he is happy that they have already set their direction right.
Look, speculators are always going to be there in any market, in any economy in the world. They're always there. It's everyone is an opportunist, and they try taking advantage of any given form. And this is perhaps a loophole they found, and they're capitalizing on this. We have an undocumented economy. That's given. I mean, only 3% people are paying taxes. So that shows you how much cash there is. And because of the fear and because of uncertainty, a lot of people are taking that cash out of Pakistan and taking it abroad, simply because there's better opportunities elsewhere. Like I told you, currently, I can get financing anywhere in the world, especially developed countries, at less than 5% net. So why on earth would somebody want to invest in Pakistan? Because there's no capital growth there. There's no capital appreciation. Anyone who's bought property in the last 3 to 4 years is pretty much selling that property at the same rate today because of the devaluation of the rupee. And because of that uncertainty, that market has now collapsed. The bubble has burst in a way for us. So we've induced a recession in our own country. Let me give you the macro side of this, which is something that they haven't looked in or factored into. The US right now is at a 20-year high in terms of its dollar value. And if you compare that with the rest of the world, and this is where the interbanks come in, a lot of these central banks have tried their fiscal policies and have tried to manipulate their currencies, but has an adverse effect. So in Japan, for example, Japanese yen has gone 20% down against the dollar. The euro and pound has gone 15% down, and similarly, China has gone 10%. And this is a historic record when you compare to the dollar.
Because of the kind of monetary policy
exactly.
the US Federal Reserve Bank has introduced, and that seems to be
But
hawkish.
it's working in their favor. Now look at the other side of it. We're anticipating a recession coming into the US and into Europe. And I've spoken to multiple analysts, I've spoken to multiple bankers, and they're saying, yes, we are foreseeing that. If that happens, look at what's happening with the uncertainty at the moment. So there's an energy crisis, there's the war with Russia and Ukraine, which is why the wheat prices are higher, edible oil prices are higher, but the US is going to benefit because US is already a producer of natural gas and they're a producer of oil. Europe isn't. Europe is dependent on Russia, and at the current scenario, their currencies have declined already, so the US is safe. So if the US exports, they're at a benefit, and globally we trade, our contracts are done in dollar values. So they're going to benefit either way. It's Pakistan that's going to suffer at the end of the day, because if the recession happens, everything is going to get more expensive.
But the example of the countries that you've just mentioned, now the central banks of those countries have also intervened, and they've also taken some measures against the monetary policy of the US. So why can't Pakistan's central bank intervene and take some measures which are now currently being
Those
taken?
economies are regulated economies which have a lot of cash and reserve available. Look at Bangladesh, for example. They've got $40 billion left that they own, not loans. Pakistan is running on fumes. If this was purely based on internal finances and our fiscal policy was based on whatever we had, we haven't got anything. So if you're going to devise policy because you know that you haven't got the money in place and you're just going to generate tax on tax and on tax, and you're going to liquidate everything that you have in the country, and you think that that's going to bring the revenue into Pakistan, this is exactly what's happening with your rupee. Your rupee is devalued as high as it can because we haven't got any funds in place. There's two other factors, the fiscal deficit and the current account deficit. And we've again said this, that if these guys are coming back in 25 years, what have they done differently? So why is the country bleeding at the moment? Because the country hasn't got the funds, so we keep saying we have a month worth of imports. But tell me the other side of it. What about the state-owned enterprise? Why have we been not able to privatize and minimize and curtail our expenditures? If we had done that, if I as a taxpayer am paying money, my money is going down the drain. That money is not being used in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of utilities, in terms of your allied sectors.
Right.
That's not happening. So how is the country prospering? So in 25 years, we're taking the loan from IMF, and we're paying all of these salaries, all these government institutions which are not required because they're not profitable. They should have been privatized 20 years ago.
Please hold your thought. Again, let's talk to Mr. Khan. When we talk about Pakistan building a narrative of debt reprofiling, do you think this particular move or the moves which have been taken by Senator Ishaq Dar are in line with that narrative?
I think this should have been a long time ago. And if they're doing it now, it's definitely the right approach. We need to take a stance and tell the rest of the world that, you know what, we're not beggars. We're perceived to be, but we're not. The country has a capacity to export well over $200 billion annually. If you just look at tourism, from tourism alone, $30 billion can be generated. If you look at gems and jewelry and minerals, You've seen Balochistan, you've seen Turbat, you've seen all the locations we have untapped, unseen locations, unseen resources. And again, that's another $20–30 billion. If you look at the agro side, we're not even touching that. If you look at the IT side, again, we're not capitalizing on that. There's much more. There's leathers. There's many other sectors. So if we collectively put all of that together, there's much more Pakistan is capable of, but are we really touching those sectors? Recently, the government had an interaction with the Qatar Investment Authority, which has at its discretion $400 billion at any given time. And we're talking about privatization of PIA perhaps, but that's just a tip of the iceberg. What about JVs? Like I said, we've got 21 to 22 special economic zones which are operational at the moment. Gwadar is giving you a 20-year tax holiday. Are we not able to bring factories and plants and machinery? You said production capacity, that's exactly where we're shortfall. Even if I get 100 orders for a certain item, I may not be able to give them 100. Furniture, for example. Furniture-wise, Turkey is exporting perhaps 3 billion. We're hardly touching 50 million. We don't have the capacity. We have the skill, but not the capacity to produce because there's no transfer of technology. There's no value addition. And this is the same I can talk about for many others. And when we're going to excel, we're going to excel when the government takes an initiative, does a roadshow, and shows the rest of the world what Pakistan has to offer. So FDI is imminently required right now. You know, with the impeding slowdown of worldwide economy, Pakistan can capitalize on that because this is exactly what we did during COVID-19. The world had closed down, Pakistan was open, and they said, you know what, let's go to Pakistan, let's try them, for example. Our exports went up. I mean, we were touching nearly close to 30 billion perhaps, and our GDP had gone to 6.5% during COVID-19, or right after COVID-19, which to the world was a surprise. Even WHO recognized Pakistan.
There are a lot of odds to be which Pakistan needs to do, but at the same time, given the circumstances, as Pakistan has been massively hit by the devastation of the floods, so what should be done in immediate terms? Of course, it should be there should be an international call, which has already been endorsed by the UN Secretary General, of the debt servicing and debt relief and restructuring. So in the immediate term, there doesn't seem to be any other solution other than this.
This is going to take a long time, by the way. If you look at the numbers, let me give you some numbers. You're looking at about 7,000 kilometers of road. You're looking at nearly 5 provinces and 80 districts. You're looking at about 33 million people. So this is a huge number. And this is going to take years of rebuilding, relocation. Majority of these people that have been dislocated, they don't even have proper data on who those people were, where those people are residing, because they don't have Nadra cards. They don't have CNICs. These are people that are on urban plan communities. So this is, you know, devastating to another level entirely. So for us to have the accurate data, we 2 days ago sent 50 trucks. We've already sent 600 tons of goods from Islamabad alone, and there's much more coming in. But I've told my business community, slow down. We're going to have to plan this, phase it out, because there's going to be much more that we have to do. We have to look at employing people. We're going to have to rearrange schooling. We're going to have to look at healthcare sides. We're going to have to look at arranging pharma medications from Pakistan. So there's a lot more that has to be done. So in terms of the world, IMF can give us RFI, rapid financing instrument. Through that, we can get 5 to 600 million right away from them. We've got the US aid programs. We've got plenty of NGOs worldwide that are willing to work with us, but they need to reestablish the trust aspect. There's a huge trust deficit. You know, we've interacted with multiple countries, and you know, there's been a huge gap over the last few years, simply because after 2005 earthquake, and then we've got the 2010 floods, since then there's been a lot of instability. Everyone that we speak to, they want political and economic stability for us to be able to talk to them and have a table dialogue, for them to trust us and give us the funding.
Right. Mr. Khan, your brief take on what could be the possible solutions in immediate terms at the hand of Pakistan?
Right away, start giving targeted subsidies to your industries. Large-scale manufacturing needs to be facilitated. Your tariffs are very high at the moment. We are not competitive anymore as we were, so we're not going to be able to export. It is not about the dollar. It's primarily about how it's costing us, how much it's costing us to produce. So if we're going to be expensive, we're not going to be competitive locally or internationally, and the local consumer is going to end up paying a much higher price, hence inflation. We need to introduce an SME policy. We've got nearly 4 million plus SMEs in Pakistan, and currently a lot of companies opening up are closing before they open because they haven't got the financing in place. There's no financial model. Again, going for interest rate to about 22% perhaps if somebody wants to go for an SME. We need to focus on sectors which are unexplored. Handicraft, for example. Handicraft worldwide is a $600 billion industry, targeted to touch 1.3 trillion. Perhaps we're not even getting 1% of that. So there's a lot of different sectors which we haven't tapped yet. Women economic empowerment, we need to focus on that. We need to focus on youth, talent. You know majority of the academic institutions don't have hospitality management programs? We're not even focusing on hospitality. Imagine a sector which is untapped, so we're not training our human resource. Need-based academia is important because we're going to have graduates coming up and they're going to look for jobs. Jobs should come to them because they've got the right qualification. We shouldn't be exporting this talent. There's a lot of brain drain. If you go to all the institutions right now, 50% of the youth is saying we're applying overseas, perhaps Canada, we're going to apply for immigration. We don't want to do that. We're going to lose out this talent, and we're going to have to re-import this at a much higher cost. we need to add value. We need to bring in industry, plant at a much lower cost. We need to destructure the FBR mechanism. Currently, there's 70 types of taxes, already complicated, it's very expensive. We can't keep imposing taxes on taxes for existing taxpayers. We need to broaden the tax net by reducing the tax forms. And this is the simplest way. The luxury goods are very specific. They hardly have perhaps a 3%, 2% impact on the entire trade balance. What about everything else? So don't consider everything else as having an impact on the entire balance. This has to be regulated, it has to be reduced, because we need to ensure that the economy moves forward. And again, the real estate sector, we have 50 to 60 allied industries that are working with us. There's tax on tax, there's deep rental income, there's capital gain tax, there's non-filer tax. This has to be sorted out.
It was wonderful having you, Sardar Yasir Khan, former President, Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry, on the show today. We really appreciate your time.